Awesome.
I know it's broader than that. Then what I look forward to learning in this track, I feel like there's a whole lot more about PM that I haven't been able to understand because I've taken a few online courses, mostly free. But I really think being in this program will help me to understand things better and break things down, know like the day-to-day experience of a PM, things like that. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that piece. All right, so let's hear more people. So unmute your mic and then let us know. Who's next? Who's
Okay.
going next?
Hi. My name is Zoe.
Oh, hi, so
Uh, okay, I chose PM because also I wanted to transition into tech, and I basically just checked out the roles and picked what fits my person the most, and also it was convenient because I had people that were in a PM community, so it was basically easy to join them and fully understand the scope of what exactly product management is.
all
What can I
right.
say about product management? I think the whole idea of the job is, to just practically have a third eye, being able to answer problems and bring your own perspective to how you want to solve those problems. So yeah, I thought that would be something I would like to learn. What am I looking forward to learning in this track? I want to build my product. I want to I want to be able to come out of this track having built a product. That's pretty much it. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. I really, really, I appreciate everyone that has spoken. Thank you very much for your honest opinion. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So the first question, what does a product manager do? Um, so, I mean, simply, right? Very simple, basic. A product manager manages products, right? Right? And you're building solutions that actually solve real user problems. So, critically, this is what you're doing as a product manager, right? You're basically answering that question of what does the user want, right? And how well does this product answer that question? The pain points of the users, right? So you are sitting in the intersection of the user, the business, and the engineering team, right? Those three core areas. So let me repeat: the user, the engineering team, and the business. So you are the person that listens to the user. You're the one that when the engineering team wants to know what are users thinking about, what are their current pain points. You are the person to feel the pulse of that user, of the target persona, right? And then you're also working with the business in terms of monetization, working on the business model, driving the objectives, the product vision, what we are trying to achieve in this with this project, right? You're the person that answers all of that question, right? Then at the third side, you're the person that also manages the engineering team. You're leading by influence, right? You're more like the go-to person when it comes to building the roadmap of the product. So you're the one directing the engineering team on what to do. To be honest with I'll be very honest with you in this class because I have experience working with different engineering teams across different sectors: fintech, e-commerce, blockchain. And one thing I can tell you is product management is so interesting. As a product manager, your day-to-day life is really, really interesting. If you're that kind of person that loves to take on new challenges, you just want to enjoy what you do, and you don't want to be bored. You want to be in tech, but you want to know a bit about everything. You want to drive conversations. You want to drive the goal of the business, and you don't want to be too neck deep in just one core area, right? Then you're in the right place, right? So just to confirm, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. All right. Beautiful. All right. So what I would like to ask, right? So I just want three people, maybe three, four people, quickly, give me examples of products that right? I mean, what examples of products do you? I mean, it could be a website, it could be any solution you're familiar with, right? So who's going first? Examples of products.
Netflix.
Netflix. All right. Who else again?
Carry rice.
Cowrie Wise. Beautiful. Who else again?
Facebook.
Microsoft's tools, Microsoft Word, Excel, and the likes.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. One more.
Facebook.
Sorry?
Facebook.
Oh, beautiful. Facebook. Awesome. All right. So
YouTube Music.
YouTube Music. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So these are all products. And if you listen to yourself very well, you know that we as individuals, we revolve around products, right? From the moment you wake up till you go to bed, we're all working with products. You're on Twitter. Twitter is a product. You're watching your down to even physical goods, right? So every product you see has gone through the product development phase, right? So there's a product development phase. So down to the standing fan in your room or the TV set, all these products have a phase of development, right? And as a product manager, you want to be familiar with those phases, right? So, I mean, to be honest, life itself is a product, right? Your life in itself is a product, right? Because you can obviously see that what you used to be 5 years ago is not what you are right now. So there's a phase, right? So
You're going
we
now.
all, sorry,
You know how to.
sorry. Okay, someone is unmuted. Please mute yourself if you're not speaking, so you don't disturb the class. All right. So products, we revolve around products every day, right? And guess what? That's to tell you that we are in an industry that is so huge, right? The opportunity is endless, right? As a product manager, you are in need. Like everybody needs you because every day people are thinking of how to make their products better. And then the interesting thing is a lot of these products, you have a lot of product managers that build them, right? So for instance, I'll give you an example. Facebook as a product, they have different product managers that manage the different aspects of the product. So you have a product manager for when you want to send a friend requests. You have a product manager for search. You have a product manager for Facebook ads, right? So it's in demand. It's one aspect of tech that it will keep expanding as as the year goes by, right? So I'm very excited that you are like in the next couple of months you're going to be in the industry I am in, and it's a very good opportunity for you to have made this choice, right? So one advice I'd like to also give you is you in the process of you learning product management, you come across a lot of things. You'll be taught a lot of things. There are different schools of thoughts, right? Obviously, because this is not taught in the university, so you realize that a lot of the materials you'll be using can be found on different websites, different sources, LinkedIn Learning. You have so many, nano courses that just talk about product management. So there's a point where you're like, okay, I'm confused. Do I really need to learn all of this, right? And I would like to give you a guideline, right? So everything you're doing as a product manager revolves around 6 things, right? 6 things. And I want you to pay close attention to these 6 things. Anything you learn tomorrow, next week, it falls under these 6 things I'm about to explain, right? So what this does is it helps you to manage your knowledge that, okay, if I'm learning design thinking, I know design thinking is under the research process. If I'm learning A and B testing, I know A and B testing is under the refining process. So you'll be able to manage your learning process, and then you also know how to deliver because you understand the entire life cycle of what you do. So the first is researching, right? Researching. The next is planning. You have building, you have releasing, you have refining, and you have retiring. So researching, planning, building, releasing, refining, and retiring. Now, I'll tell you what all of this means, right? So for researching, what you're doing as a product manager at the research stage is you're speaking to users. You are checking if the product, if there's a market fit. You are also assessing, you are doing computer analysis. You are checking to be sure that the product you're working on actually has something that is unique, right? So at the point of research, there are a couple of things you should be doing as a product manager, and you'll be learning that in the course of this course. You have the planning stage. Now, at the point of planning is where you hear things like UI, UX, a wireframe, low code, low fidelity wireframe, right? So this comes at the planning stage. So after you have done your research, you found out the problems of users, you found out that, oh, this is solution, this is how this solution will help them, right? You move to the point of planning. And at the point of planning is where you now do, plan out the sprints, right? Okay, this product is going to take us 6 months, or it's going to take us 3 months. Okay, how many features are we building? All right, let's prioritize, right? All of that happens in the planning stage. Prioritization, sprint planning, so UI, UX, all of that happens in the planning stage. So anytime you're learning all of this, you know that, okay, I've gotten to this stage of my product, and, it helps you to be in sync. Third stage is the building stage. Now, the building stage is where you engage with your team, you test, you do a UAT, you do, this is the point where the engineering team, it's in production. So a lot of, you have the management of the development life cycle. So that point, you are doing your stand-ups. This is the point where you now ask your front end, oh, have you delivered this? When are you going to deliver this? What are the blockers you have? What are the bugs? So you do all of this at building phase. Then you have the release phase.
Sorry, pardon me. I can't see your screen anymore.
Okay, can't see my screen anymore.
Okay, I can see it now.
Okay, all right. Can anyone else see my screen?
We can't see
Yeah.
us.
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Right. So then you have the release phase. Now, at the release phase, this is where you talk about the go-to-market strategy. This is where you do the product marketing, right? Defining how are we going to ship this to users? Are we doing a soft release? Are we doing a hard release? Are we just doing, there's going to be the alpha stage, there's going to be the beta stage, all of that conversation happens at the point of releasing your products, right? Then there's a point of refining. Now, the point of refining is where you study the metrics, you do product metrics. That's where you have conversations around OKRs. OKRs means objective and key results. So that's a metric for assessing your products. You have lots of tools that you find out there, Google Analytics, NPS, Net Promoter Score, all of those tools fall under refining. So anytime you see product metrics, anytime you see things around, or even if it's an interview and they ask you, how are you going to assess the product? How would you measure that this product is growing? You should know that what you're doing is refining the product. Essentially, you are really putting in measures in place to make sure that the product is optimal and it performs well, right? So this is the point. You also want to expose yourself to product tools, right? So in the Web3 space, it's so dynamic because you have a lot of interesting tools, right? So if as a product manager in the Web3 track, you want to expose yourself with unique tools, and these are the things that even makes you different. At the time I started my journey, right, Web3 wasn't as much as it is at the moment, right? So, but for you, starting your journey and you're already understanding the basics, you are the fundamentals of Web3. It means that you even have a step, you're one step ahead because it means you're going to be a product manager who will be working on revolutionary products, right? So you want to be aware of tools, Web3 tools that has to do with managing the product, optimizing the product, and just making the product better. So there are obviously sessions that will talk about that later on. Then there's retiring, right? So the point of retiring is, as a product manager, you're not just adding features. There are stages where you remove features, where when it comes to latency. So for instance, you release the feature, users are not adopting it and it's causing issues to your infrastructure, right? So you must put in systems in place that allows you to know when to retire a feature, or when to retire the product, So it's more like you're watching the product breathe and you're ensuring that you are more like the nurse that keeps your hands on the pulse of the product at each point, right? So if you don't listen to anything, these 6 things must be at the back of your palm, right? Like anytime you want to express yourself in an interview and they ask you, what do you do as a product manager? Ensure you speak about these 6 things, right? Because it helps you, it tells you that you understand what you're doing as a product manager. So please let me know if everybody understands this. So if you understand this, please, just say yes, unmute, say yes, and then I'll know you're following.
Yes.
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 Awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks for the ginger. Thank you very much. So let's go
Sorry,
deep
sorry,
into
please, there was something you said. Sorry to cut you, please. Before we move on, there was something you said about objectives. I didn't get that. My network was checking. I think you said objective, didn't care release. I didn't quite get that, please.
okay, objective and key results. Yes, I talked about it at the point of refining. So it's one of the tools, right? Metrics that you can use in assessing your products. So, but don't worry about that, right? But you can write that down and research about it later on, right? But yeah, hope you're good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. All right. So now we're looking at design thinking, right? Now, like I said, anytime you're learning anything new, ask yourself, where does this fall in? So design thinking falls in the research stage, right? So anytime you're doing design thinking, know that you're at the point of researching. You're actually, as a product manager, you're actually researching on how what you're building is going to really solve the user problem. So how do you define design thinking, right? So design thinking involves approaching a problem and coming up with a solution that is useful and relevant to the user, for whom the solution is intended, right? So 2 keywords for design thinking. Like I said, you want to focus your attention on the real critical thing. So 2 things: useful, relevant, right? And the other thing you also need to know is that at the process of design thinking, you're not talking about aesthetics, right? So this is not the point where you talk about um, um, colors. You're not talking about the wireframe, right? So because you're saying design does not mean that it has to do with you essentially designing something, right? So what design thinking really means is you are answering questions that relate with use and relevance. Use and relevance. Use and relevance. That's the crux of design thinking, right? And design thinking is more of a science than an art, right? So by science, I mean there is an approach to it. Like once you understand the basics, you can get the results you want, right? So it's not magical. It's not a gift. It's not that, oh, this person has a gift of is thinking or solving problems in a unique way. No, it's something that once you've internalized it, you are capable of doing that yourself, right? So, and that's why as a product manager, you want to be a critical thinker. You want to understand design thinking, because it's not something you're going to check on Google and find results. No. What makes you a product manager is you being able to use the infrastructure you have to come up with new solutions. So tomorrow, a lot of you on this call will be working at so many like I can imagine, I'm sure in the next few years, we'll have people here who are working in companies in the US, in the UK, and your industries are going to be very diverse. So what I'm telling you today might not be what you're going to be doing there, right? But because you understand the basics, you understand the fundamentals, you will now be able to translate it in that field you find yourself, right? So that's what design thinking does. It helps you to perform. You are able to solve problems regardless of the field you find yourself in, right? So that is why we are treating this as a first topic. Now, if you look at this image closely, right? If you pay close attention to this image on the right, so you can see, I'm sure we're all familiar with, because I told you this happens daily, right? So I'm sure when you are in school or on your way to work or something, you've seen a point where there's a roadwalk, right? This is a roadwalk where people are meant to work, and then for users are probably, they're taking a different path, right? So this roadwalk was designed to help users get from point A to point B. But if you look at this picture very closely, you'd rather see that the path the user is taking is even different from what was designed, right? So this is what you would call poor design. This is a poor design, right? Because you want to make sure that what you're designing matches what the user is experiencing, right? So you're designing a product that is doing something else. Meanwhile, as a user, they actually have different intentions. So you see how design thinking goes beyond even your Netflix. It goes down into engineering. It goes down into constructions. It goes down to every phase of life, because you want to think about users first. You don't want to build something that would not be used by users, right? So just to be sure if you can relate, have you please let me know in the chat if you've experienced this before. Have you seen this before, where there is a roadwalk? This is where everybody's meant. It was designed for people to walk through. Meanwhile, users are actually taking a different path, right? Let me know in the chat. Just type it yes or no. Let me know. Have you seen this kind of scenario before? In the chat. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yes, every time. Okay, I can see this. Yes, awesome. Someone said she has done it herself. Awesome. So you can see that you don't want to build a product that will be useless. You don't want to build a product that will not be, imagine how much imagine how much this engineer budgeted for this roadwork, and then you realize that users are actually interested in, taking a different path. Now another, say for instance, this is the general market where another product is actually building something based on what the user is expected to do. You obviously know that there's going to be more adoption for the product that is well designed, right? So imagine if this was happening everywhere in the world and people paid money to take this path. You obviously know that the person who would make more money is the person that builds the path that users are treading the most. So that's how it works. That's how business works, right? So, and that's why as a product manager, design thinking is very, very crucial to your process, right? So let's do a quick classwork. Let's juggle our mind. This is everybody's capable of getting this right. So get your pen and your paper. Get a pen and your paper, or you could use your phone, but I think your pen and paper would really help you. Now, I want you to write something down, right? So we want to, you can see two things. there's an item on the left, and there's an item on the right, right? So you have the water, you have the individual, you have the cell tower, then you also have the building, right? So if you are to design how this is going to happen, like this individual is going to get this water, what are the processes? Like what methods can you get this individual to get water? Same thing for the tower. Like how can you get this cell tower on the building, right? So let's be design thinkers, right? Give me methods, give me ideas. How can we get this done? This individual wants to drink water, or not really drink, but take water, right? What are the methods of a user taking water in this context? Then for the second example, how can we get this cell tower on this building? What are the methods? What are the options we can leverage? So just put this down and let me know what your answers are, right? Put this down, write it, probably put it in the chat, but I really love you to, if you're done, you can unmute your mic and let's hear your opinion, right? If you're done, unmute your mic and then let's hear your opinion. So there are more than one ways, but I want to hear, like, tell me, how can we get this done, right? We're trying to design a path for us to achieve this. So give me instances. Give me instances. So if you're done, please unmute your mic and speak to us. Let's hear your view.
Can I try?
Yes, go ahead.
For the bottle of water, the person, we could use a straw.
Okay,
We could use like maybe preferably a bendy straw, not the straight one.
okay,
I feel like that would be easier than the straight one. Then we could also use a cup where we
okay,
could pour water from the bottle into the cup. For
okay.
the for mounting the tower, I don't know if there's some kind of like machines or like a lever that we can use to mount it up onto the building.
Okay.
Yes, cranes. Thank you very much. Someone mentioned cranes. Exactly. Yes. Yes, those are my thoughts.
Okay, awesome. Um, let's hear more. I know we have a lot of smart people in this class. Let's hear more. So unmute your mic and go for it.
Hi,
Yes,
can you hear me?
yes. Go ahead.
I would suggest, say, having vending machines around, say, on every street corner. So even if you're randomly, maybe you're walking on the road and you didn't maybe take your water bottle along with you or something, you could just stop anywhere close by to get a bottle of water or something.
Okay. Well, not really. So we're really assessing how. So this is the problem. We've established the problem. There is a bottle of water. There is an individual. How do you get this individual to um, assess the water, right? So that's the context. So so we've established the problem that we need to build a connection. How do you get this cell tower on this building? So as a design thinker, what are the methods available to you? Right. So I mean, the first speaker also mentioned something, but thank you for that. I mean, I like where you're coming from. So, but do we have any other person that wants to go for it? Please unmute your
Okay,
mic. I'd like to
should
hear
I
you.
go ahead?
Yes.
Okay, so the person can open the cover of the bottle and drink from it, or the person can decide to use a straw, or the person can poke a hole into the bottle, or the person can cut through the bottle. Then for the tower, person could choose to climb the tower manually, or probably use a ladder or use a crane. Thank you.
Mm, mm. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Do you have any other person? Interest? Like I see the chat. I mean, I like what I'm saying. So yeah, let's hear more. I'm sure we have about like we have a lot of smart people here.
Um,
Please.
hello.
Go
Um,
for it.
okay, for the water, the individual, how an individual can drink water. Well, you can drink from the bottle, like others have been saying, or you get like a dispenser for the water. I don't know. That's my own idea. You can use a straw or a cup. Still like a process of how you can drink the water. So either of them go.
All right. All right. All right. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. All right. So, guess what? If this was a business, what you have all talked about would represent products, right? Now, there's a problem. We've established a problem that, oh, this user wants to drink water, or or this user wants to take this water. What are the methods, or what are the ways you can get this content into this individual? And in the case of the crane, in the case of the cell tower, how can you mount this on the building, right? So those are the two scenarios or two problems. Also, note that as a product manager, during your interviews, you would have a lot of these scenarios. So it helps you just know that design thinking helps you understand how to approach problems, right? So in the business sense, what you have all mentioned represents products, right? So you can think of like you have different products that are attempting to solve a problem. So product A is doing this, product B is doing this, product C is doing this, and all of this is aimed at solving a particular problem. That's how exactly it works. So in response to this, right, you've all spoken well. I mean, I liked a lot of feedback I got, right? So for the straw, the cup, yeah, so that actually can be subsumed as one method, right? So that method is the process of drinking, right? Drinking as a process means you could pour it into a cup, you could use straw, so that's drinking. So that's, let's assume that's a product, right? That's one way to solve the problem. The second way to solve the problem, which a lot of you said as well, is the intravenous method. I'm thinking we have a lot of medical doctors in this house. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of doctors here that want to be product managers, because yes, intravenous works, right? And what does that mean? Injecting water into the individual. So if it's in the business case, you have products that are doing that, products that are helping you drink water using intravenous injection, right? So you're solving the problem, but you're solving it in a different way, right? Now, there's a third case, right? Obviously, it can be weird, but obviously, we have scenarios where products are actually doing a lot of weird things to solve problems. And this is why you're learning this, so that you would know what methods you should choose when you're building your products. So the other two methods that have not been mentioned, you have, obviously, you could decide to swallow it, right? I mean, it's the bottle, right? So if you're not drinking, you're swallowing, right? You could put it into something and then swallow it as a wear, right? So that's drinking, swallowing, intravenous, taking it as via injection. Then the final one is steam inhalation, right? That's like, okay, you can vaporize the water, and probably if the user is in a room where the steam is there and the user is literally inhaling vapor, right? So that's one way to actually take water, right? So as a product manager, you want to exhaust all possible ways. You don't want to think in one direction. You must think of the weird, the normal, the basic, like all the variables. Like you want to assess all the methods possible of you solving the problem, right? And in the next slide, I'll show you how you could do that. You are basically looking at variables. Variables are like factors that you can control. So you can control the water. That's why I said, okay, water, what can you do? You can vaporize it. You can make it solid, like ice, when you're swallowing ice. You can drink it as liquid. You can, so those are the variables you want to establish. So anytime you have a problem statement, the first thing you want to do is bring out all the variables, and then manipulate it into different methods to see all the ways. So that gives you examples of what you can now do. Obviously, there's a validation phase. That is where you now check which one is the best. Out of all of these methods, which one should I choose as the best method to solve this problem? But you can't arrive at the best option if you don't examine all the options, right? So as a product manager, you want to examine all the options and then choose the best of all, because that helps you, it keeps you ahead of your competitor, right? And then it helps you know that what you're doing, it helps you know that you are doing the right thing, right? That you're not missing anything, right? Now, to the second part, the second problem statement, the approach to that is you could dismantle it. You could dismantle the cell tower and then take it up one by one, right? Bolt by bolt, screw by screw, right? And then at the top, mount it. So that's one way to get that solved. The second way is you could decide to carry it as a whole. That's the one you refer to as using cranes. Well, you could decide that, oh, okay, let's probably get a chopper and tie it to a chopper and then take it up the building, right? So you could decide to carry it as a whole, right? And then you could also decide that, okay, why not let me extend this tower to the point that is so high that I now build a bridge between the tower and the building, and then now switch it in between, probably building a bridge in between the tower and the building. So those are all the examples, right? And you want to exhaust them as much as possible, right? Now, after you have done all of this, the next thing you do as a design thinker is selecting what would now be the most useful and the most relevant method, right? But note, you would not get that answer if you don't examine all the options. You want to make sure that you create all the samples, all the potential scenarios that could happen, right? And then there's a point of assumption testing. So you assume that, okay, if I do this, what are the results? What will happen if I decide to use the crane? Would it flip? Do I have the money? Okay, if I decide to dismantle it, do I need to hire more staff? Do I need to, what does it take? Okay, if I decide to use a chopper, okay, do I have access to a chopper? Could I rent one? So you want to, it helps you examine all the options you can leverage, right? So that you would know that whatever you're doing is going to be the best thing and you're getting the best results, right? And then you're being optimum in your approach, right? So same thing with the water. If I take it intravenously, are there any health hazards? Is it okay? Is it more healthy, right? That's the point of validation. You are trying to test each of them to see which one should I choose. If I decide to use inhalation, like steam inhalation, how is it costly? Do I need to hire more hands? Do I have the machinery? So you look at all of those things you've established and then examine the possibility. Which one is the easiest? Which one is the most relevant? Which one is the most useful? And then base your decision off of that analysis, right? So this is the science of product management. This is how you are, like, you're not putting your emotions into the product, right? You're not doing things based on your instincts or how you feel, right? You're doing it based on the logic, like the approach, like it's systematic. It doesn't have to do with if you're smart or you're not smart. No, you're following a process, and it is the result of that process that will determine your approach or what you're going to do eventually, right? So that answers it, right? So if you're following this, let me see it in the chat. Like, just give me a response. What do you think? How do you feel? What's your opinion about design thinking? So I'd like to read that in the chat before I speak to the last few slides. Have you learned anything so far? Has this opened your mind? Put it in the chat. Let me hear your opinion, and then we'll go to the next stage. This. All right. So I like that you're all following, right? So this these are the stages of design thinking, right? This is what you're going to see on the internet, right? And don't let all of this confuse you, because you realize that what we are talking about is what we're actually doing on a day-to-day basis, right? So when I was answering that question, when I was after looking at the examples you gave and all the methods we approached, you see that the first thing we did was empathize to understand the user's pain points. We understood that, okay, what this user wants is to drink water, not to drink, but to really take water, right? So you establish that first. The user is not trying to sell, or he's not trying to give out. The user is thirsty. So the pain points for the user there is thirst, right? So as a product manager, you want to map out the user journey. You want to do the empathy map, right? So this is what empathy means. You want to empathize with the user. You want to understand, what is this user really facing. The other part is defining the goals, right? So defining the goals that needs to be achieved. So okay, what's the goal of the user? What's the goal of the product? What's the goal of this business, right? Okay, if I intend to do it this way, what am I trying to achieve, right? What if I build a feature that does this? What are the goals of that feature? How would this help the user? How will this help the business, right? So a lot of these questions, when you are building your PRD, you'd see that it's so useful. I'm sure you're familiar with what a PRD means. So a PRD means your product requirement document. So there's a class that teaches that in the coming weeks, right? So all of these are very intertwined, right? Very, very intertwined, right? The third stage is ideation, right? So you're ideating the hypothesis using available variables and presenting all of the possible solutions, right? So, like I said, anytime you have a scenario, right, they will tell you that, oh, I have a business, I made 20 million last month, I'm trying to make 2 million next month. My customers are 20. As a product manager, please tell me, how would I grow? How can I get 20% in 2025? Very simple. What you just need to do is highlight all of the variables, build hypotheses. Okay, scenario one. Okay, increase this, reduce this. What results would you get? Scenario two, get this, get that. So that's how design thinking actually works, right? You are examining all the options available, breaking it down to all of the implications, and then selecting, validating that, okay, if I'm going to go for this, this is why I'm choosing this as my best method, right? So if an organization calls you and says, okay, should we build this feature or should we not build this feature? Tell us, what should we do? So this is exactly the stage you want to follow. You start with the variables, you empathize with the users, you define the goals. But what is this person trying to achieve? Are you trying to make more money? Are you trying to reduce your churn rates, right? Then you break down all the experiments you can conduct. Like, okay, maybe you should do this as the first test. Then as a second test, you could try this and then validate which is the best and then follow through with that. So that's essentially what you do as a product manager. There's a point of prototyping, right? So prototyping is the point where you now build an MVP, right? You build something that you can take to the market, right? And at this point, you're doing a lot of testing, assumption testing, right? There's a point of, obviously, the final stage, which is similar to release, right, is the test. And this is where you do your go-to-market strategy, you do your demo test, you do your soft release, right? So all of these are really, really intertwined. And as a product manager, you want to ensure that you understand them step by step, step by step, right? So, okay. So I think we're almost at the end of the class, but just to joggle your memory, who can, without you looking at your screen, right, tell me the 5 steps of design thinking, right? You can, don't cheat, don't look at the screen with your eyes closed. Give me 5 examples or 5 stages that you must follow if, as a design thinker, when you want to solve a problem. All right, so who is speaking first?
Planning.
Right? Sorry?
Okay, so you empathize with the user
Mm-hmm.
and figure out their problem.
Mm-hmm.
You define like what goals that you have for this solution, like what you want to do for these users, exactly what you need to do,
You-
right? Then you ideate all possible like solutions that you can come up with for this problem,
Awesome.
and then you choose the best one. When
Awesome.
you choose the best solution, you start to create prototypes for that, like with that solution, like that solution's prototypes. Then you check it out by testing it, like by
Beautiful.
just testing it out.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great work. Let's have more people. Have more people. All right. Who's going for it? The more you talk about it, the better you will, the more you internalize it. So don't be afraid. Unmute your mic and walk us
Okay,
through.
good evening.
All right. Good evening.
Okay, first of all, you empathize. You put yourself in the shoes of the user, then try to understand the pain points, and that will help you to define what the problems are. And when the problems are defined, it will help you to ideate, create a solution to the problem that has been identified. And when you create the solution, it will help you to build a prototype, which will then be tested. And if it works well, you have a product. Thank you.
In fact, I can call you a product manager because you've that's exactly the 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 holy grail of product management, right? There's no magic to it. This is exactly what you're doing. This is what makes your life interesting as a product manager because you are solving one of the world's worst problems, and it's not rocket science. All you're doing is scientific. You're only looking at variables. You're starting from the pain point, then going into the goals. Okay, what am I trying to achieve? So that you wouldn't build a product that is not solving a problem. And you don't also want to build a product that is not the best. That is why we have to ideate. That's why we are looking at all of the possible options, right? And then you are building a prototype to test, right? So I'll give an example. Before Third Mainland Bridge was constructed, right? There was a prototype, and they would have placed it under all of the conditions that, okay, what about if there's a wind? What about if there's a storm? Would it withstand it? So before you are seeing that massive structure, they did a small demo, they put everything together in like small bits to be sure that it would really, really work. And then before they test, do a final test after it has been built, right? So product management is life. Like everything you see has it follows through all of these processes. Even outside product management, you have to understand this process of thinking, right? It might even be in your place of worship. It might be in a different scenario, like, oh, we have a problem. Please come and solve this problem for us, right? Once you can follow these processes, assess the variable, assess the goals, you would get the best. Like your results will be the best out of someone else who did not follow that methodology, right? So I have one last teaser before I call it quit, before we wrap up this class. But I'd like to also hear more. Tell me, what have you learned in this class, right? So especially people who have not spoken before, like just highlight, what did you learn? What did this class teach you? Just unmute your mic, share. Let's all share. Let's hear what you've learned, and then even learn newer things. So I think we can have 5 people, and then we'll go to the next thing. So please unmute your mic. What did you learn in today's class?
Okay, let me go. First off, when you posted that picture, I I tried to analyze it. I thought of the dismantling. Now I immediately try to consider the cost that would be involved in hiring more hands if you're going to achieve taking it up the tower to mount. And I ruled it out without thinking like a product manager, like laying out all the variables.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you understand. I quickly didn't like I didn't give it a chance. That would have maybe been the best way to get the solution to that problem. But I didn't consider it because I didn't give it the opportunity. I rushed and thought of the and the solution to that problem was costlier than maybe another variable that you're considering to use. I've learned in this class that I need to lay out all the variables. Then, we've been taught, get the prototype and choose the best method or the best solution to the problem. Not just ruling out anyone before considering it. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's have another person. Unmute your mic and go
Okay.
for it.
Okay. I learned a lot about. I really learned a lot, but the point that really caught my attention was critical thinking and empathy. As a product manager, we should think of 100 different ways to solve problems. Like when you have a problem, think of different ways, not just one or two. There are so many ways to solve one problem. And also, we in the empathy side, the empathy you talked about, the empathy has to do with thinking about the user,
Mm-hmm.
trying to understand their problem and solve it, because a lot of products, a lot of product out there, I feel if you want to analyze it very well, they don't the producers lack empathy because they just send out some random product. So I really learned about critical thinking and empathy.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's have one more.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, go for it.
Okay, so far I've learned about everything with what you said. Just makes one thing stand out for me, and that's that product management is more of a user focused kind of field or kind of a thing, and not just user focused, but you also mentioned about how um, the crux of design thinking is usefulness, and it's not just focusing on users just because you want to ship out a product to people, but focusing on the users because we want to be answering to the needs of what they count as useful and relevant. Yeah, and I think
Absolutely.
critical thinking or thinking outside the box kind of like a, I don't know, superpower, some super skill of product managers. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much. Right. So, and personally, I'll tell you this for free. What you're learning in product management will help you in other ways, other areas of your life. Even when you want to start your own business, or you own a makeup studio, you have a salon, or you want to set, you will think, okay, I want to start this salon. How can I make it different? What are the problems of people in this region? You know, what are the ways I can, how can I make my salon different from the others? You know, you are much more analytical, and you realize that the businesses you see today, the global businesses you see today, they didn't do anything magical. They only just thought differently, answering questions in a different way, and that's really what makes the world better, right? I'm really happy to hear a lot of the feedback I got from you today. So now let's do this, right? I know you wouldn't let me down. So let's do this. Let's do this final test before we call it a wrap. Now, listen attentively to this, right? A truck driver was trying to drive below a bridge, right? Was trying to drive below a bridge. And in the course of driving, like the container got stuck, right? That's the truck got stuck, like you can see in the image, right? So the truck can't move forward or backward as a result of being stuck. So if you had to solve this problem, what would you do if you had to advise, if you had to solve this, what would it be? So you know what you're going to do is write this down, and then I'll tell you when to give me your answer. I'll tell you when to give me the answer. So that is the scenario. The truck is stuck under the bridge. It can't move forward. It can't move backward. How do you get this truck out of this situation? You know, what solution? How? What would you do? What products, as a product manager, how would you approach this problem? So I'll give you 10 seconds. Think about it, write it down, and then I'll tell you to either type it in the chat or unmute your mics. So 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, time's up. Time's up. All right. So type it in the chat and then unmute your mic. So what's your answer? What would you do? All right, unmute your mic, or you could type in the chat.
I would remove the goods from the truck.
Okay, I will let the tire and drive because we have a
Okay.
way.
I'll
What do
remove
you
the
say?
goods
What
from
do you
the
say?
truck so it wouldn't spoil.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So the problem with this truck is that
Okay, I said I will let the
Okay. So
tire
so
and drive with the wheel because if I let the tire, the height of the truck will come down a bit. I'll be able to either move forward or backwards before I can provide any further solution to the problem of the truck passing.
okay. Okay.
okay.
So that's your, you have only one example, right? So that's your approach.
Okay. So can I go?
Yes, yes, please go.
All right. So the problem with this is that the truck is immobile and can't move and it's stuck.
Mhm.
So our goal is to remove, like, to unstuck this particular truck. If I was going to ask like a clarifying question, am I supposed to make sure that the goods are intact when
You could,
looking for my solution?
no, you could do anything actually. You could do,
Okay. So
yeah.
one option is to lessen the tires.
Okay.
Another option is to, you know, cut off, like, kind of use machinery to kind of cut off the parts that are the part that is stuck, that is not allowing the truck to move.
Okay.
Yeah. Another option would be to lower the entire vehicle and tow the truck out of um the bridge area. Um, if I was going to pick a solution, I would think to lower the vehicle and then tow the truck out, because I think that that would reduce the damage done to the truck, and preserve the good as well, and keep the truck in good condition when moving it out.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Let's have one more person.
Um, a destructive one came to mind, but I thought I would say since you said we should think of everything. Breaking the bridge itself.
Okay. We've lost you. I can't hear you again.
Oh, that is all. That's all I wanted to
That's
say.
all.
That
Okay. 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 Beautiful.
breaking
Beautiful.
that.
Oh,
All right. So you have all spoken.
Can I ask something?
Sorry. What are you saying?
Can I add something?
Okay. Go ahead.
From what you said about deflating the
I
tire,
think the truck route can be fixed. I think the truck route can be fixed. There's a way trucks are wired, both and
notes and all of those things. So there's always an extra layer above the tires. Then the shock load is actually placed on that layer. So it's possible that that part can be missing. Then you take that shock load off the truck, and you can drive the truck out, then place the load back on the truck, then move on.
Awesome. All right. Thank
Yeah,
you very, very. Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that's those opinions are very, very valid. Very, very valid. Very, very valid. Right. So I like that we are all thinking like product managers, right? And I like that we are very detailed in our approach, right? So what did you do differently? You looked at the variables, right? So what are the variables to this scenario? The first variable is the bridge. Second variable is the truck, right? Now, for the bridge, you could decide to you could saw it out. You could take out the bridge, right? So that's one way to get problem solved. The other is dismantling the truck, right? Taking out the goods, dismantling the truck. Then you have the option of obviously you can't tow it because it's stuck, right? So you have to take out. You could also use the tires, which is very, very valid. In fact, that's the most useful and relevant answer, right? Because you want to assess every options you can take and then choose the most useful and relevant option, right? Which is much more effective, right? And lessening the tires is the best, right? But we did not arrive at that without examining all the options we could have, leveraged. Because what about if the other options are the most preferred, right? So that's why you have to first of all do all of those mapping, like testing out all of those scenarios, and then come up with the prototype that, oh, okay, if we do this, what would happen? Can we simulate this scenario and see? And then, because your scenario might not be a truck, it might be something else. It might be a company like Binance, right? And that person's scenario might be Facebook. You are working at Facebook and they are losing users in North America, and they're like, okay, you're a product manager. How do we solve this problem? So it might not be it might not be cast in stone like we're saying it. It might be more difficult. It might have to do with numbers. It might have to do with people. It might have to do with the engineering team. It might have to do with the management team, right? So that's why your knowledge, you have to always think of the steps, the stages. Okay, what do I need to do? Let me empathize. Let me define the goal. Okay, my goal is to do this. I want to get this out of this situation. Oh, I want to improve this metric. Then, okay, what are the variables? Okay, I can either reduce this, I can add more to this, I can dismantle this, right? Then prototype it. Okay, let me test this. If I do this, what will happen? If I do this other one, what are the, then choose the best option. Like, okay, I think this is based on the analysis you've done, this is the best way to approach that problem, right? And that's why you have the pay stacks of today, because pay stack is doing something a lot of other businesses have tried but did not get right. So as a product manager, you want to, like, every product you see today, the engineering team is not there. Like the engineering team you'll be working with, they don't have answers to the questions. They don't know the users. What they only know is back end. What code am I using? Front end. What's the code the libraries they're going to be putting together. They don't know anything about the users. They don't know anything about what the business is trying to achieve, right? And that's where you come in as a product manager, right? So anywhere you find yourself, you want to show the difference. You want to be the difference, right? And you are playing a significant role, right? Because what you're doing is going to change the life of that business entirely, right? And that's why you must always discover more. You must always, explore, try to seek for answers, and the sky is your starting point, literally, right? So thank you so much I really had a great time speaking to you. I really, really had a fantastic time, right? So this slide will be shared with you. So I put in 2 resources here, right? I want you to take the first one, Universal Principles of Design, LinkedIn Learning. I took that. I had a very fantastic time taking that course. I think it's, I mean, we could do it in a day or 2 days. Once there's series of videos you could watch, right? And it will just expose you to more of how you can be a better design thinker. Then the other resource is also very good. You can read the article, and learn a lot more. Then you have an assignment, right? And um, I think they will communicate the time in which you would submit this. I think before next week, Monday. I think maybe by Saturday, I guess, right? You get that on Slack, right? So your assignment is look for any Web3 product around you, right? Assess how the product is designed to solve the user's problems. Then using the approach we've learned in this class, make a critique of the product, right? Suggesting how else you would have designed your own product to solve those particular problems that the users are facing, right? So that's the assignment, right? And I feel free. You can give me a 1-pager, you can give me a 2-pager, you can give me 3 paragraphs. Feel free. There's no benchmark. I just want to see how you think. I want to see your thought process. I want to see how you approach problems, right? You can always talk to me if you have questions, right? If you want more clarity. But I believe that by doing this assignment, you would even go deep, you would understand more on how to be an holistic product manager, right? The submission will be via Google link, so you'd also get that on Slack, right? So I think with this we can call it a wrap. The next class we would have tomorrow would be for user research, right? So, and user research is a class you also don't want to miss, because at that time, during the user research class, we would now be going deep into the, how do you understand users? How do you do user interviews? All of those things, all everything you've heard about user research, we're going to be hearing it in our class tomorrow at the same time. That's 5 to 7 p.m. tomorrow. So I think with this, I could say my goodbyes. I don't know if you have questions. I think I can take questions before we call the class a wrap. So please, if you have questions, you can go for it.
Can I ask for examples of Web3 products? What are examples of Web3 products?
All right. So any product that uses the infrastructure of Web3, right? Decentralized, for instance, you have elements, you have some critical things that makes a Web3 product Web3, right? So if you're hearing anything that says, oh, this centralized financing, chain system, I'm sure they must have taught you at the previous phase before this class, right? So, but I'm sure if you go on Google and type examples of Web3 products, you see examples you can use, right? Crypto projects, there are a lot of projects you can examine, and then using the methodology we've explained, you'll be able to come up with an answer. So does that answer your question, Azomta?
Yes. Thank you.
All right. So do we have any other question?
Yes. Okay.